Yeah, this is really crazy how fast this stuff moves. Okay, so I want to talk about Web three. Web three to me, when I think about what drew me to it in the beginning, it was entirely the technology.
Hmm.
And when I look at the blockchain, so I obviously come at everything from the lens of entertainment. So I'm thinking about digital worlds, games, all that. And the problem is, once it's digital, then it's all sort of meaningless. And so you end up having to trap people inside of an ecosystem in order for things to retain their value because you can lock things in and make sure that things only react the way that you want, but you have to confine them. And when I had first, this is probably 7 or 8 years ago now, I was introduced to this thing that the guy at the time called V Atoms. And I was like, oh, wow, that's going to change everything because what it does is it brings the effectively the laws of physics into the digital realm. It means that I can have something. I know exactly how many there are. I know where it is. I know what you have to do to get it. I know what it does once you have it. And then, flash forward, whatever, it was probably 4 or 5 years after I heard that, I hear the letters NFTs strung together for the first time. And I'm like, oh my God, this thing actually got real because I wasn't ready to use it. And quite frankly, it wasn't ready for prime
Yeah,
time back then. Um, you, I think, look at Web3, I don't know, as a movement or as a technology with a bit of a chuckle. What do you think that Web3 got wrong?
I think it lacked intelligence for a start.
At the contract level?
I think the smart contracts are actually just logical contracts, but like Web 2 was AI at the core, Google, Facebook, other things. There was no AI in Web 3. And so Web 3 for me was identity and value transfer rails. But then there was no kind of intelligent routing of these things. And also, they tried to bootstrap economic incentives before they created value. So there was a system created outside the existing system. All the money was made and lost at the interface. And there were some really good principles, a lot of really good people in there, but then a lot of like freaking raccoons that were just trying to make a quick buck, right? The ups and downs of the cycle means that a lot of people have been washed out, and there were a lot of good ideas there. But again, it needed something to bring it together because to get information from one place to another, and Bitcoin paper was about information. It was a transfer of value. That's just a transfer on the ledger, right? It's not really a transfer. It's just a ledger point just changing.
Mm.
Applying intelligence to that makes that even better. Having intelligent market makers, having AIs that represent you. Because how are AIs when they get agentic, when they have the ability to go out into the world, not physically, but digitally, how are they going to pay each other? They're not going to have bank accounts, right?
Mm.
They'll probably use crypto. How there's going to be a system of record for something like image generation. You'll probably use a blockchain or something similar, maybe a Merkle tree series. There was a whole bunch of stuff around federated learning and zero knowledge proofs and things like that. AI can help it if you have standardized AI on your phone. It can make much more intelligent zero knowledge proofs. And zero knowledge proof is something like, like rather than showing a whole passport, you just say that I'm old enough to drink. And it can verifiably show that. So I think that there was a lot of promise, a lot of really intelligent stuff, a lot of good stuff around the distributed side, but then an over focus on decentralization for the sake of decentralization with massive overheads. A lot of quick buck people kind of coming in and trying to boost it up. And a lot of systems were just misaligned because they didn't learn, like, you don't do a fully decentralized flat democracy. You have representative democracy and things like that. So things like DAOs just turned out to be DOs, decentralized organizations, rather than autonomous.
So, is it something that you think that is going to find its way into usefulness now as we get the take an AI agent that's going to need to be able to,
Transact value.
yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. Does it step into that, or because I see what we're building, I have to have the blockchain. So for me, it felt like when I was sort of living through Web3 at the height, I looked crazy to everybody because I was like, why is everybody thinking about this from a financial
Yeah.
perspective? The financial side of this, I thought was going to create hyper perverse incentives, which of course it does. And so for me, it was, well, wait a second, just look at the technology, look at what the technology allows you to do. And are you familiar with the new, I forget the, whatever the lead up code is, but it's protocol 6551, if I'm not mistaken.
No.
It's really interesting. It basically turns any digital asset into a Russian nesting doll. And so you can, it is both the piece of content and a wallet in the same time. So
Yeah.
you can create an AI character. This is how I think about it. So what we want to build inside of our game is imagine an AI character. We do in fact have a character, and she's a merchant. So now imagine this merchant can actually go negotiate with the players in the game that may want to sell something inside of the game. And if she has actual currency, ETH, Bitcoin, whatever, she can go and negotiate with real money and have these real interactions with people. And then if she has a limited amount, she becomes an economy unto herself. And so she's buying and selling and trading until she runs out of goods, runs out of money, whatever. And that kind of thing gets very, very interesting to me. But without that layer, one, obviously, I need the entire backbone of the blockchain in order to make the digital goods have any sort of value, because otherwise they're just completely infinite. But then also, that particular protocol allows you to, as you're effectively embodying it and giving them agency, as you were talking about.
Yeah. And, the question is, do we use a blockchain for that and then have a global system of record or even a regional system of record, or do you use a database for that, right? Like the whole thing was systems of record, and an era where you can create anything for increasingly close to zero, something becomes important. Having a system of record becomes important. Is it going to be a blockchain? Is it going to be a trusted database? I'm not sure, right? Is identity going to be important here? 100% absolutely. And again, that for me was always at the core of Web3 crypto. It was verifiable identity. Bitcoin is just identity to identity transfer of value. And what happens if something goes wrong? No man need it. So I think a lot of the principles from Web3 will translate over to this new type of AI, especially because it enables distribution of knowledge. It enables knowledge to go to the edge. It enables agents to operate independent of massive infrastructure.
And again, this may just be naivete on my part, but when I imagine misinformation, disinformation, it feels like the only way around that is the blockchain. Do you see a way with a trusted database or anything
Yeah, you
else?
can have a trusted database. Again, we're part of
But what
content
would a
processing.
trusted database be, and how could it ever be something that's beyond reproach? When you're talking about something like, um,
Well, I mean, like things are never beyond reproach, even with a blockchain, because it comes down to identity. Who wrote this to the blockchain, right? So if you can co-opt the
if
signing authority
mhm.
of an asset, of an image or something like that, then that shifts things dramatically, right?
You're saying it just pushes the hack to a more individualistic
It's
level.
an identity hack, right? So, and again, like one of the things I'm like, you can track the provenance of an image, but then sometimes it's just around, if you're just bombarded by fake stuff all the time, you won't even know it's fake, and all the systems have to adopt a fake detector at the same time, or a provenance detector. Will we be able to adopt that suit quickly enough, given the tsunami that may or may not be coming our way?